Make sure we good here. Okay, we seem to be good. So, what's up, guys? Back, Pavy Daily Takes. I know I haven't been extremely consistent. That's my fault. That's my bad. Been doing a lot recently, so I haven't been able to talk to you guys as much as I want to talk to you guys. But we're back today. Today I just wanted to talk about isolation basketball, honestly. And I mean, there's been a huge, I guess everybody talking about it and arguing about different styles to win basketball games ever since KD made his comments about, the Warriors or whatever. Which I think a lot of people kind of took out of context. I think just what he meant was like, the deeper you go into playoffs, the more people like know your tendencies and know your skills. So a lot of the sets that you want to run with the screens and the off the ball movement don't work as well because you're dealing with teams who have studied film on you and you got to beat them 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 times. So a lot of the things that you want to do don't work. So you kind of have to improvise and just go one-on-one. And I think people kind of like took that like out of context. I know that for like whatever reason in this internet generation, I guess since the Warriors have been winning, people kind of look down upon isolation basketball, and I think that's pretty stupid. Now this is not saying that you aimlessly every play just like go out there and play street ball. Like that's not what that's not what basketball is, and that's not what you should do. But I do always think that there is purpose and that there is a point with isolation basketball. For one, things will always break down and you'll have to go out there and improvise. Also, I was watching a lot of the Sparks basketball today, WNBA, and one of the things that I saw in that game was they kept running like screen and rolls, and they kept getting Chelsea Gray trapped off all the screens. And I was like, yo, bro, she's a good enough one-on-one player that you can just take whoever the defender is man to man, beat him off the dribble, and you would probably get a much easier shot. I think that sometimes, even though it was in the playoffs last year when I was watching the conference finals, like a lot of the times, well, Inez had a bad shoulder, so Inez wasn't even trying to set screens. So they kept trying to set screens for Dame, but like when you bring a screen over, you also bring a defender. So now you're just getting him trapped. You probably actually have a better chance of scoring or breaking down the defense and doing what you want to do if you actually just call a play for him to go one-on-one in the spot of the court that he wants to go one-on-one in. And also, I think there are multiple ways to use isolation. I think that isolating in the post is a great way, especially when you talk about guards who have a well-defined post game and guards who are bigger guards. Like I think Kyrie Irving could benefit from being isolated in the post a little bit more often. I think James Harden eventually at some point in time, as he gets older and as his career continues to progress, could benefit from isolating in the post. And just talking about the Rockets, I know people think that the Rockets just aimlessly play isolation, and like that's not exactly the case. Usually what the Rockets do is they, pick out matchups. Like, okay, what do you think the best matchup is for you to score Harden or for you to score in previous years Chris Paul or for you to score Eric Gordon, Austin Rivers, whoever. And whoever you pick the best matchup is, you get the best matchup and you get to switch because teams love to switch, and then you attack that matchup and you exploit that matchup. You either step back for the three or you break them down, take them to the rim, and you kick it out when somebody collapses. I know I was watching Kobe's knucklehead the thing earlier, and he was like, "Oh, that's like accidental basketball." I agree, but I also kind of disagree. And I think that you can still do that with purpose, especially if there was a method to the switch that you wanted to get or to the play that you wanted to run. Now, granted, like I said, I don't think that means you just run up and down the court aimlessly and just isolate and just, don't call plays or anything like that. But I do always think that there is a purpose and there will always be a purpose for isolation in basketball. If you watch a game, probably I want to say at least 50% of plays end up in just one-on-one activity. It always comes back to, can you make a play on this guy? Can you break this guy or girl down and make a play? Because you can't run a set for everything, especially when you get deeper and deeper and deeper into the playoffs and teams kind of know what you're going to do. Also, with especially with the Rockets, a lot of stuff is just ball control. I think that I think that they try to play the exact opposite of Golden State and try to like limit the possessions that are in the game. They try to, make sure that the rhythm isn't that there's no real rhythm to the game, and that happens when you can isolate, dribble the ball, take the clock down to like 10 on the shot clock. Even if you do get a shot clock violation, it's a dead ball turnover instead of one of those turnovers that's like they get to get out in transition. So I think kind of what KD got misconstrued, and I think that what like a lot of KD says gets misconstrued, especially when it comes to talking about the Warriors and talking about style differences. But I don't disagree with what he said. You even saw times and look at the Clippers series. I felt that the Warriors Clippers series. I felt that at a certain point in time, Steve Kerr kind of threw out the playbook and was like, "All right, KD, go get him. Where you want the ball at? Tell us where you want the ball at. Tell us the spots that you like, and you go out there, go get him and figure it out." And again, I think that basketball always comes down to that. It'll always come down to one-on-one matchups at some point in time. Like again, you can't run a play, you can't run a set every time. And then what happens when that set breaks down? When that set breaks down against a better defensive, they take away your first, second, third option. At that point in time, it's 8 seconds on the shot clock left, maybe even less than that, and you got to improvise and you got to make something happen. So I always think that again, isolation basketball has a point. I always think that it has a principle, and I don't think it'll ever die. And I just think that the conversation around it, at least on the internet, just needs to change a little bit. I think it's looked upon as something like a horrible thing, and not something that can be used as an asset. I think that you always need a great isolation player, or at least a good isolation player on your team. I don't think you've seen any championship team who has won a ring without an isolation player in some shape or form. Like you may talk about all the Warriors won however many out of the last rings, yeah, but they had Kevin Durant, who if you playing one-on-ones, probably arguably one of the best players ever, one-on-one players ever. The LeBron and Kyrie Cavs, you had Kyrie, who's one of the best isolation players, one-on-one players you probably ever seen. Michael Jordan could take anybody one-on-one. Kobe Bryant could take anybody one-on-one. Like, yeah, the triangle did exist, but there were moments in which you just put the ball in Kobe's hands or Michael's hands where they wanted the ball and trusted them to make a play with it. So again, man, I think that isolation basketball still has a purpose. I think it'll always have a purpose, but again, this doesn't mean that you just run out there aimlessly and act like you playing at the park. But again, I think it has a purpose when used properly, and I don't disagree with what KD said. So that's been my column for today. Pavy Daily Takes.